Hi, everyone. In this video, we're going to go through the topics and the questions that you're going to see on exam 2. Once again, as with the first exam, every single question you're going to see on the exam, we're going to go through in this video. Okay. So one of the questions you're going to see is going to be in terms of sourcing. And sourcing is essentially where you want to work with suppliers to plan, procure, or purchase certain products, right? So forms of sourcing is purchasing. So whenever I'm sourcing products, I am purchasing those products from a supplier, okay? The term of purchasing and procurement are used interchangeably. So whenever you see the term procurement, you can also think of purchasing. Both of those are a form of sourcing, okay? Now, you also have a form referred to as strategic sourcing, where that's the long-term partnerships that you develop with your suppliers. So strategic sourcing is another form of sourcing. So one question you're going to see is in terms of sourcing. The next question is going to be in terms of total quality management. So within total quality management, the term quality is not just the responsibility of the quality department within an organization, it is everyone's responsibility. So that is why that's where the term total quality management comes into place, where we are getting the input from every single department within an organization so that we can eliminate waste, we can reduce variability within our products, our processes and services, and we always want to strive for continuous improvement. So that's where this term total quality management comes into play. The next question that you're going to see, or the next topic, is in terms of landed cost. So landed costs are essentially all of the costs that go into purchasing a particular product. Okay, so I have an iPhone, for example, right? So I have an iPhone, and the cost of an iPhone to get from China, because iPhones are produced in China, to get from China all the way to the US, San Francisco, Savannah, Charleston, whatever port that they're going to be sending from. So iPhone costs, I don't know, $400 to purchase, hypothetically, right? So now you have additional costs. You have transportation costs that go into that cost. Then you have tariffs, right? Then you might have fuel surcharges. So once it gets to the port in Savannah or Charleston, then I also have to have an additional cost for the truck to pick up that container from the port, right? And transport to the distribution center. There's another cost associated with that, right? So then once it goes to distribution center, which would be like a holding aspect, right? Let's say that, Verizon hypothetically has to get it from a consolidated distribution center to their distribution center. So that's an additional cost. So all these costs are racking up in addition to the initial purchasing cost of an iPhone, and that's referred to as total landed cost, right? So all the costs associated with purchasing the product, paying the tariffs, paying it to get on a ship all the way to the US, paying it to get on a truck to the distribution center. And then if I have to go to another distribution center, the cost to get from another truck from one distribution center to another distribution center is an additional cost. And all of those costs make up your total landed cost, okay? Another question you're going to see is in terms of sales and operations planning. So sales and operations planning is a medium-term plan. It can be referred to as having a medium-term time horizon, right? Where sales and operations planning gets the input from manufacturing, from sales, from finance, from engineering, from marketing, getting the input from all of those departments, right? and reaching a consensus on the forecast, on what the forecast should be, as opposed to only depending upon history, only depending upon purchasing to provide me with a medium range plan so that I can understand what to purchase, right, and what to manufacture. So sales and operations planning is a tool that is very valuable because it takes the input from a number of departments within an organization, as compared to short range planning, where I'm just looking at forecasts, right, and trying to plan the products that I need to manufacture. Another topic you're going to see is assemble to order. So we're going to go into other production methods, but within assemble to order, I always refer to assemble to order as Lego block. Think of Lego blocks, right? So I'm going to have common components within a manufacturing facility. So I'm going to have a semi-finished good, right? And I'm going to have all these components. And I'm waiting for an order to come in before I put together the Lego blocks, before I assemble that product, right? It's assemble to order. Because it's assembled to order, I'm waiting for that order to come in before I assemble it, okay? Perfect example, Tesla. Tesla has they have black seats, they have white seats, right? They have all the components. They have white doors, black doors, gray doors, whatever other colors they make for a Tesla, right? All of those components are waiting until someone goes on Tesla.com, configures their own vehicle, right? And then they'll actually assemble that car exactly how that customer wants the Tesla, right? Assemble to order. Okay, that's just one strategy. We're going to go to other strategies later. Another approach that you're going to see on the exam is push planning versus pull planning. With push planning relies on forecast, right? So traditional forecasting. Traditional forecasting is referred to as a push-based strategy or push planning, okay? So I'm using my forecast and I'm producing my goods based on previous history, right? So I'm being proactive in producing my inventory. So then once the orders come in, then I can pull those. If my forecasts were accurate, then I can just simply pull that inventory off the shelf, right? Because those items are standardized, right? Toilet paper. There's only so many versions of toilet paper, right? I don't have to wait for a customer order to come in to produce toilet paper. So I'm going to look at the previous history for toilet paper. Probably a terrible example, but work with me here. I can look at the previous history of toilet paper, and then I can create a forecast and I can start producing this toilet paper. I can put it to stock, and then as grocery stores, pharmacies, Amazon, as those orders come in, because I have history from Amazon, because I have history from grocery stores and pharmacies, I just pull that inventory off the shelf and I ship it out, right? I'm being proactive. That's push planning. Okay. Now the drawback to push planning is that it ties up my inventory. So I have to have millions of dollars of inventory if I'm doing a complete push planning, push-based strategy. Okay. Amazon has to have a push-based strategy. Amazon has to, because of their business model, Amazon has to have a push-based strategy in order for, as those orders come in on Amazon.com, they pull that inventory off the shelf, okay? Pull planning is different, where that you're being reactive, right? There's an approach called lean. So lean, the objective of lean is to reduce waste from a process or a product perspective. Okay. So lean is a pull-based system. Lean is a pull-based strategy. You are being reactive. right? You are trusting the system to tell you whenever you need to purchase products or produce products. So once again, lean production is a pull-based system. Okay. You're also going to see a topic in terms of capacity. So with capacity, we can look at capacity from a machine perspective. We can look at capacity from a warehouse perspective. So capacity essentially is going to tell me how much work is capable within a given period of time. So with capacity, from a warehouse perspective, from an Amazon distribution center perspective, I need to understand how much capacity that distribution center has. How many cases of product can that distribution center hold? Okay. From a machine perspective, I need to understand the capacity of a particular line, an assembly line. I need to understand the particular capacity of a machine. What's the capacity that this machine can make on a daily basis? Okay. So if I have an assembly line of iPhones or Android phones, whatever kind of, if you're Android or Apple, if I have an assembly line of Android or Apple phones, for that particular assembly line, I need to understand the maximum capacity is 500 phones a day. Right? So I pretty much know I can't make over 500 phones. The capacity is 500 phones. So also I know that I'm probably not going to be hitting spot on 500 phones every single day because we have humans and they take breaks and things like that. Now, if we had machines, if it was automated, then the capacity could be closer to that maximum capacity. But in terms of what we're talking about now, the capacity is what is the maximum capacity of a distribution center, of a warehouse, of a manufacturing facility? What's the maximum capacity from an assembly line or machine perspective? Okay. So you're going to hear more about capacity. Going back to production methods, we talked about assemble to order. Once again, think of Tesla. Someone goes on the website, configures what type of car they want, and then Tesla will actually assemble that car to order. Okay. Now, and assemble to order is because you already have the Lego blocks in place, already have the doors, already have the seats, already have the steering wheel, already have the color dashboard they want. Right. Now, you also have something referred to as make to order, where like customized things, right? So someone will tell you exactly what they want what they want in terms of a product. Let's see here. What am I thinking about? Like signs. So if you have like custom ink or something like that, right? So custom ink, they don't have those designs just sitting at their facility, right? You can upload designs on custom ink or Vistaprint, right? And they will actually make the coffee cups, the shirts, the banners to order. It's make to order. They don't know what product you want because you upload your own logos, right? So it's make to order. They wait for those orders to come in before they make it, because they have to make it from scratch. So that's make to order. Make to stock. Make to stock is exactly like as it goes back to the toilet paper example. I can look at my forecast of toilet paper consumption, or how many cases of toilet paper that Amazon and the grocery stores purchased, and then I make it and then I put it to stock. Once the orders come in, then I can just simply pull those orders off of the shelves, and then I can just simply pull those orders off the shelves, and then ship out the product. That's make to stock. So once again, and another one is engineer to order. With engineer to order, airlines, Boeing, Airbus, they'll actually work with the government. So the Department of Defense, they'll work with the Department of Defense, and they'll work with the Department of Defense to engineer exactly what they want in a plane, in a stealth bomber or something like that, right? They'll work with the airlines, Boeing and Airbus will work with Delta, Southwest, Virgin Airlines. They'll work with them to give them exactly what they want, the specifications. They'll engineer it from scratch, because in some cases, an advanced stealth bomber doesn't exist yet, right? Their specifics don't exist. So they have to engineer it based on the order of the government, of the Department of Defense. So some of the production methods: engineer to order, make to stock, make to order, assemble to order. Okay. So when we talk about demand management, some of the primary inputs to demand management is the upstream and downstream flow of products, the upstream and downstream flow of information, and the upstream and downstream flow of capital, right? Now, once again, I know we talked about this in the first video. Whenever you talk about upstream and downstream, you're turning a faucet on, right? So information, capital, and products initially flow downstream. Okay. Now, flows downstream from the supplier all the way down to the consumer. Okay. So it goes from supplier, manufacturer, distributor, wholesaler, consumer, retailer, and consumer. Okay. So you don't have to worry about that. That's just, so the different components, that's just for education. You're not going to see that on the exam. But as those products flow downstream, then you're going to get feedback from the consumer, and that information flows upstream, right? Once the consumer pays for that product, right, then the retailer can pay the wholesaler. Once the wholesaler gets paid by the retailer, then they can pay the manufacturer. Once the manufacturer gets paid, then they can pay their supplier, right? So that shows you how that, and then the products, customer doesn't like the product's defective. The defective product will flow upstream. So let's just say your Android phone and your Apple phone is defective. You return it back to the Verizon store, right? The Verizon store sends it back to the distribution center, or the Verizon store will send it directly back to Apple. So the product initially moved downstream. Once we found it was defective, then it moved back upstream. Okay. So that means, so again, demand management, the flow of products, information, and capital. Okay. Also, we want to talk about silos. So functional silos, you're going to hear that term very often within supply chain. You're going to hear that term very often within business. And when we talk about functional silos, we're primarily just simply saying that everyone kind of has tunnel vision, right? And they do not collaborate or coordinate with other departments within the organization. So we always say that sales teams will work in their functional silos. Sales is focused on sales. They're not concerned with how much the product costs. They just want the product there when they need it so they can sell it. Right. So that's the importance of sales and operations planning. And that's why we want to break down these functional silos so that we can increase the coordination among departments within the organization. So we talked about medium range forecasts with sales and operations planning. Now we're also going to talk about, you're also going to see a question on short range forecast, short range planning, and we want to use short range forecast to assign tasks to workers. Okay, now again, we use medium range forecast for sales and operations planning so that we can actually kind of plan out what our scheduling looks like, so we understand how much we need to produce. We can understand how many people we need to hire. Right? We need to understand if we need to start to think about paying people overtime so that we can produce, right? We can produce the products we need based on that sales and operation, based on that forecast that came out of that sales and operations plan. Okay. Now, long-term plans would be used for planning new products. right? So Apple essentially has a long range plan where they're planning new versions of the iPhone now as we speak, right? For like 3 years from now. You also need a long range plan whenever you're looking to expand facilities, right? Once you have determined you need to expand a facility, then you need to actually have a plan to say, okay, where we're going to build that facility, right? So and then also research and development that kind of goes back into the Apple scenario. But once again, those long range plans are for R&D. The long range plans are for creating new products. The long range plans are if you're looking to expand your organization and open up new facilities. Okay. You're also going to talk about the product life cycle. And whenever we're going through the product life cycle, the phase that has the highest level of uncertainty would be the introduction phase, right? There's a lot of unknowns within the introduction phase. You go into the introduction phase with a lot of theory. Theoretically, this should work, right? And so you have your introductory phase. That's where we're building our teams. That's where we're starting to develop the product or service. That's when we're starting to introduce the product or service within the industry. And then once we have introduced the product or service within the industry, then we reach the growth phase. Now people are knowing about our product or service. Now we're growing. Now we're bringing in additional revenue. Okay. Once we have hit that peak in the growth phase, now we hit the maturity. So we're kind of leveling out. We're kind of generating the same amount of revenue for about 4 or 5 years, hypothetically, right? So then once we have hit that same amount of revenue, then you have to hit the decline phase where someone's found something better. Another product has come out, right? But you also have products where different versions have a product life cycle. Apple comes out. Apple's product life cycle is very short because they're putting out new versions of the iPhone almost every year or every other year, right? So each one of those versions of the iPhone, I don't even know what version the iPhone is right now. But each version of the iPhone have their own product life cycle. Okay, so as a new version of the iPhone comes out next year, right? You're going to have a high level of uncertainty because you said, we just released the iPhone last year. We think people are going to buy this new one, but it's uncertainty. In the introductory phase of that new iPhone, there's a lot of uncertainty. So that's why that introduction phase is going to have the highest level of uncertainty within the product life cycle. Okay. So going back to the topic of capacity, we said that we can see capacity from a machine perspective. We can see capacity from a warehouse perspective, see how much capacity we have, right? So you're going to see a scenario-based question in terms of how you would increase capacity within an organization. Okay, so be aware of that. Now we're also going to look at different types of production strategies, and some of those strategies, 3 of those strategies, is the level strategy, the chase strategy, and the mixed strategy or hybrid strategy. It's mixed or hybrid, they're used interchangeably. So with the level strategy, whether it's people or products, I'm going to level out my production where I am producing the same amount of products every single week or every single month with the level strategy. So I'm looking at what the demand is, right? And I'm going to say, okay, let's see. If I'm going to produce, all right, let's stick with iPhones. If I look at my demand and I say, okay, my demand is level enough where I can produce 500 iPhones a week, or 500, let's just say 5,000 iPhones a week, right? So I'm producing the same amount of iPhones every single week, regardless of what the demand is, right? In doing that, I can level out my number of employees. Now I don't have to bring in additional capacity previous question, and I don't have to pay for overtime. So the level strategy kind of reduces the cost from an employee and overhead perspective, because I know what has to get produced. Okay. Now with the chase strategy, I always say I'm chasing my demand, right? With a chase strategy, I'm being reactive to my demand. I'm trusting the system to tell me what I need to produce, right? So a chase strategy could be like a make to order or assemble to order strategy, right? Where a level strategy is more of a proactive approach, right? I'm making the stock with a level strategy. I'm producing the same amount of iPhones every single week. I'm putting the stock, right? With a chase strategy, I'm waiting for that demand to come in, and then I'm producing it. Okay. And then a hybrid strategy or a mixed strategy is a strategy that a lot of organizations are accustomed to, where you're going to start with a baseline and then adjust. Right. So I'm going to start with a baseline of 5,000 iPhones. Right. But if orders start to come in, and those 5,000 iPhones are no longer working, then I'm going to adjust. I'm going to increase my capacity of workers. I'm going to increase overtime, right? So I start off with a level strategy of the 5,000 iPhones, and I'm keeping the employees based on the 5,000 production, right? But as orders come in, then I'm implementing chase on that 5,000 baseline, and I'm increasing and paying overtime. So once again, that mixed or hybrid strategy is what a lot of organizations use, because they start with some type of baseline and then they adjust it. So we talked about the difference between a level over a chase strategy. Where a level strategy, we have more control over our costs, because now we know how many employees we need to hire. Right. With a chase strategy, we're bringing on temporary workers. We're asking workers to work overtime. So that's going to cause us to incur increased overhead costs. Right. Also, you're going to see a question on what we refer to as collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment. That's an acronym that was referred to as CPFR. What CPFR is that it's an approach. Actually, it was started by Walmart, where Sam Walton, he always has a philosophy that said, show our business partners everything. So Walmart would get what they refer to as POS data, point of sale data. They would get that point of sale data, and they would send it to their distributors. So now the distributors understand how much product Walmart's probably going to purchase in the next couple of weeks or months, right? So now that the distributors know how many products Walmart's going to purchase in the weeks or months, they look at their inventory and say, okay, we have to bring in more inventory. So because they know that, then they send that information to the suppliers that they purchase from. Now the suppliers know, okay, we got to bring in more workers, because 2 rungs down, Walmart is going to order more product, and that means distributors are going to order more product from us, right? And that means that the manufacturer has to check their inventory levels. So they check their inventory levels. They actually start to bring in more employees, and now they say, "Oh crap, we need more raw materials." So now the manufacturer goes to the supplier. And now the supplier understands how much raw material the manufacturer is going to purchase, because the manufacturer shared the Walmart information with the supplier. And now the supplier understands what the inventory levels of the manufacturer is, and now they can get ready for that Walmart order that comes in, right? So collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment is just the concept that all forecasts with business partners are shared with each other. So Walmart started sharing the point of sale data. That point of sale data was then sent to the distributor. The distributor looked at that point of sale data, looked at their inventory levels. They shared more information with the manufacturer. Manufacturer look at that information, they look at their inventory levels, then they share that information with the supplier. So now you have visibility throughout the whole entire supply chain, and it's a win-win for everyone. Because if Walmart shares that information at the bottom downstream, if they share that information downstream and send that information upstream, now Walmart doesn't have stockouts. Now we as consumers can walk into Walmart and get anything we want. If you have that, now the supplier, now the distributors, now the manufacturers, now the suppliers are able to reduce waste throughout their supply chains. Now they don't have to hire as many workers because they know exactly what they have to produce, because everyone shared their information, everyone shared their forecast, and then that's why this collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment (CPFR) approach is very, very powerful. Once again, you're going to see a question on lean. Lean is the approach to reduce waste. If you want to reduce waste throughout the process, you want to eliminate non-value added activities. If the activity or if the product does not provide value to the organization or the consumer, it gets eliminated, right? So if you have a time that does not provide value, it gets eliminated. Unfortunately, if you have people that do not provide value, it gets eliminated. They get eliminated. So that's just the approach to lean. And then you're also going to see a question in terms of back orders. So that goes back to the CPFR concept, where if we did not have the visibility of inventory, then the distributors, then the manufacturers and the suppliers would be guessing what Walmart would need to purchase, right? Because they're guessing, then they might. So whenever Walmart issues a purchase order to a distributor, the distributor may not have it. If the distributor does not have it, then that's going to lead to what we refer to as a back order. So then Walmart receives a back order because the distributor did not have the product they wanted. They sent a purchase order for, right? And now, once all that inventory from at the Walmart gets purchased, now the shelves are empty. So once again, when finished goods are not available whenever customers want it, that refers to as a back order. Okay. Last question. We also want to talk. Last question. We talk about how we want to incentivize people, right? And in a number of industries, there are a number of incentivizations, right, or awards, and that's what that last question is about. So once again, that's pretty much, there's 20 questions, 5 questions apiece. We went through every single question you're going to see on the exam. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to publish this right now. I'm going to send out an announcement. It might take about 5 minutes for this recording to publish, but once it publishes, I'll send out the announcement. Have any questions, please reach out. Thanks.